planning board. I guess, Patty, are you with us?
I am. Can you hear me? Hello?
Okay. All right. I'll take the roll call. Tim Dunham?
Here.
Terry?
Present.
Scott?
Present.
All right, Andy?
Present.
Ron?
Present.
Myself. So we have a full board. Thank you. So first item, approval of the minutes for December 11th meeting. Do we have a motion? All right. That's Tim moved it. Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Larry seconded. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, raise your hand. Yes. All right, so we have 4 and 2 abstentions, correct? The 5, 4, 2. I'll give it that for it. All right. First item D, a site plan approval extension request. 6 Rivers Youth Sports LLC is requesting to extend site plan approval for an ice rink and site improvements at 20 Atwood Road, tax map R09, lot 60, G1, G2. Is somebody presenting? Would like to have anybody?
It is just like essential.
All right. So unless the board,
Does it need a presentation from?
I think we can deal with it unless the board otherwise.
No.
As long as the board is okay with that, you have the application, you also have the staff notes. Does anyone want to?
I'll make the motion, well, we can discuss that motion, I guess, but. I move that the planning board approve the request by 6 Rivers Youth Sports Incorporated, the extension of the site plan validity for the 6 Rivers Youth Sports ice rink and associated improvements at 20 Atwood Road by 6 months, June 12, 2026.
Second. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? It's unanimous. Thank you.
Okay.
And you're notified then, right? Okay. Item E, site plan amendment, Lee Toyota. With LLC is proposing an 8-bay vehicular service building to the rear of the existing main building at 115 Main Street, tax map R04, lot 25A. And again, this is an amendment, is anyone presenting that?
My engineer's supposed to be here. I don't know where he is.
Yes, he's here.
Okay,
virtually.
oh, there it is. Okay, perfect. All right.
Let's see. He is muted.
Hi, good evening. Jeff Allen with A.E. Hodson Engineers.
Okay.
Hello.
Would you like to go ahead and give your presentation?
Sure, if I can, let me just, can I share my screen here?
Yes. At the bottom, you'll see a green arrow pointing up.
Yeah, I got it.
Okay, go ahead.
There we go. So yeah, it's great to see you all again. Thank you for letting me join by Zoom just to save the drive to Topsham and back from Waterville. This is the same project that we talked about a couple months ago. And after it was approved, the applicant was getting ready to start construction and realized that they wanted to set the building back a little bit further from the roadway than they had before. If you'll recall before, this is the new new service bay that's being constructed sort of in the back parking lot right here. Initially, when we had it approved a couple weeks ago or a couple months ago, it was closer to the building here. So once they started laying it out on the ground, the contractor started laying it out on the ground, the client asked to move it back a little bit. So the return to the planning board this evening is just to allow this building to move back. It's actually a distance of 23 feet back from where it was located before. So almost everything in the application is as before. We have since received approval from the water and sewer departments for our proposed connections. This drawing also includes a couple of the things that you'd asked about during the last approval, which was adding these trees up here. Josh has let me know that I do need to add the size and species of trees that we're going to be putting along this northern property line. So that I can do after this evening's meeting. He did send me a copy of some draft standard conditions and specific conditions that were that he'd come up with as part of the staff review, and so those have been added to the plan, and so I'm hoping that's all you'll need, but I'll be happy to answer any questions.
So I guess, and I do remember Glenn Scott had asked about the buffering and so forth. So are the conditions, maybe I should ask you, basically these are the same conditions that went through the original?
Yes, there was just a small change to the conditions, and that actually is before one of the conditions had specified that the landscape would need to be added to the plan because the landscape's already added to the plan. That didn't need to be on here anymore.
All right, so I guess number one, before we get into this any further, we have a finding for the applications complete.
Sure. Oh, I move the planning board concur with staff that the appropriate application materials have been submitted and the application is complete, such that the board may proceed with substantive review and identification of any further action or information which may be required from the applicant. I'm second that.
All right. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, it's unanimous. All right. So why don't we go ahead? All right, so you also have this waiver is still.
Yes, the waiver that we looked to go back and through.
All right, okay, all right, good. All right, so I guess questions from the board for, yeah. Jerry, you. Okay. And you guys?
Good.
All right, I guess no questions from the board, so I guess I'll entertain another motion.
I'll do a motion this time. I move to the applicant's request for the waiver of 17510 landscape requirements be approved.
Second. Any discussion?
That doesn't impact the buffering along.
Because it's already in the plan.
It's already in the plan.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is the waiver necessary still?
Yes.
Yes.
Or some of the parking lot.
For some of the parking lot? Okay. Only question.
No other questions? All in favor? All opposed? All right. You're on a roll now.
Oh, I didn't know if we should go around the table. I move that the applicant's request for a waiver for the 175-11A5 architectural standard restricting continuous facades over 50 feet be approved.
I'll second that.
All right, do we have Patty listening? Or
We do have Patty here.
I don't know if she's
I
hearing.
don't know if she's.
Hi, can you hear me, guys?
Okay.
go.
All right, are you hearing who's doing the motion?
I've been
Second?
here, I've been here through the whole thing, but thank you. I think I'm all set, thanks.
All right. Okay. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All right, it's unanimous. And then it's the last one.
All right, I move that the site plan amendment application for Lee Toyota Service Bay tax map R04 lot 025A, having satisfied the applicable standards in the site plan review ordinance, chapter 175, and in the zoning ordinance, chapter 225, is approved with staff recommended conditions and findings identified in the staff memo dated January 8, 2026.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor? All opposed? And I voted yes too. All right, unanimous. All right. Thank you, sir, and thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, thank you for letting me appear via Zoom.
Well, thank you for your participation. All right, I am recusing myself. We have a public hearing and Scott's gonna be running this.
All right, so we'll open up the public hearing on the preliminary subdivision, public hearing for 4 Union Park Road multifamily planned commercial development by 4 Union Associates LLC, which is submitted a preliminary subdivision plan for 4 to 5 story, 183 unit residential building at 4 Union Park Road, tax map U05 lot 47.
Are you connected to the all part?
So we do first.
Is it on your laptop? I think you have to accept.
Yes, for our presentation.
I think you have to accept. If you go to the Zoom meeting. You can going to propose it or you do accept.
And is the public hearing open or
No,
you're ready for our presentation first? Okay, that's what I thought I heard.
First, yeah.
Perfect. So let me just pull this up one moment. It's your presentation. And then I'll start up in. It's just the camera. Okay, I'll.
Additionally, just research, I know some of your team is on here as well, and so just let me know if you'd like me to, promote any of them to panelists at any point, I'd be happy to, like, if they wanted to say anything.
Sure, yeah, and they'll have the ability to like raise their hand if they.
Yeah, they can like put their hand up and
Okay.
I can.
Remembering how Zoom works in this context. But my name is Dave Holman, from North Yarmouth, but work primarily in Brunswick, Topsham, Bath. And have somehow become a developer over the course of many years. Working first with a single family house and basically fixing up historic properties, but slowly getting into more and more renovation and rehab until the point when we built the Sandpiper building over in Brunswick, which is a 63 unit apartment building. Myself and Jason Lord, who's on the Zoom with us, he's in Minnesota, so he couldn't make it here tonight with a few of our colleagues. And yeah, we're excited to be back. I know we've given a version of this presentation multiple times, so apologies for some of the repetition, but we want to make sure members of the public, here get a chance to see it if they haven't been to the other, public sessions that we've been to over the last year and a half as we plan this project together. So thanks in advance for your help. And we're excited to respond, to the housing crisis that we have in this state, in this community, in a way that has been trying to work with the town of Topsham on what your needs are, what features you want to see. And this will be the largest affordable housing project in the town to date, is my understanding. So we're excited to do that, which is about 1/3 affordable and 2/3 market rate housing. So that is the first preamble I will give. The site is 4 Union Park, which is an ideal site for density. This is not a single family home neighborhood or a place where this kind of structure would be out of place or keeping. Indeed, our neighbor is VIP Auto. There's the Veterans for America sort of retirement home right next door in a bank. So we're in a good commercial area for this kind of project. And what we have now, I've owned the building with others since 2019 at 4 Union Park. And the parking lot itself is highly underutilized. We have 15 to 20 cars on a busy day there for like 115 spots that the McD law firm originally built. And we're basically proposing to convert that, empty parking lot into housing, with a preference for the people of Topsham, which again, over many meetings with the select board, that was a big priority for the town, is to give a first preference to people from Topsham or people working within, I believe, a 15-mile radius of this area, in addition to the affordable housing component. And it's nice that it's right near 295. People can get, down to Portland, up to Augusta, other places right near the Topsham Fair Mall. So we're not citing, these housing units out in rural areas where often sprawl leads housing to be built. This is something that is near the schools, it's near services and utilities, and it won't create new roads and lines and infrastructure that Topsham would have to maintain. So we've been iterating the design process with the staff, the town officials, thanks especially to them. So we have a more efficient outdoor parking model. Now we've enhanced the main entry that'll be covered. What we see in Sandpiper is a lot of older residents who love the underground parking, the elevator. We even had some residents come out of a assisted living facility to live with us there because they value that independence. So the covered porte-cochere entryway is an important piece of it. We tweaked the unit count from 180 to 183 units, and that adds another affordable unit to the mix. And we've updated the common areas and amenities as well, which we can get into if there's any questions. Here, I'll pass it over to our civil engineer, Caleb Barassa from Royal Palmer.
Good evening, Caleb Barassa from Royal Palmer. So Dave did a great job reintroducing the project to you all. We were last before you a couple months ago. From here, I'm just going to take it, just kind of gloss over where we're at and some of the updates that we have brought forward to you now since our last submission. Currently, we're anticipating a few waivers. So there were a couple of items on the general parking design that we'll formally submit waivers to you, but wanted to at least identify now in this meeting so that if there are any questions from the board that we might be able to address those going forward. A couple of those were general parking design and the ability to provide future connections to adjacent lots. We're going to be requesting a waiver from that more strictly on a safety basis and what we're trying to provide for community here in this parking lot. And next piece being public open space. It was identified by staff that we're not providing the correct amount of open space, and so we are still providing a public open space with our rear common area and then some portion of that frontage as we come towards the front sidewalk area. And so we're looking to coordinate that much with staff that we can request that waiver and still provide that much as a public benefit. I think really the key piece there is that we're really trying to provide this not just as an open space for our residents, but for the greater community. And really generally everything about this, Dave goes into it in such greater detail. He's been a part of it from obviously the very beginning. But everything about this plan is really for the community and has the community's best interests at heart. So one comment there. Then the last one here, just something that Josh had forwarded along to us today. Wanted to slip in, but just perhaps a clarification on one of the off-street parking standards, which ultimately says something to the effect of there shouldn't be any parking on a major interior travel lane. So there was thoughts that might be in conflict with the plan as it sits, but we'll continue to review these internally and with staff, but wanted to at least bring forward for the board's perspective, and if there's any questions, comments that we might be able to discuss at this time. On the next handful of slides here, I have just a quick bullet list in front of you of just updates on our plans and really the application staff comments that we've received, things that we've already started to really respond to. we had provided prior to this meeting on December 30th, a comment response letter from the preliminary plan submission staff comments. So some items I'll touch on here. After that, we have Dry Poultry from Dry LA, who can talk to you a little bit more about the landscape plans and how we really started to bring this to life. We didn't have all that much prepared in plan at the time from our last meeting, but certainly excited to have him show you what he's really been working on around the buildings here too. So for my purposes, a lot of the updates, we've gotten our initial comments and some discussion with the traffic peer reviewer from TY Lin. So we are still in the process of performing that traffic study, but just to give a kind of a broad understanding of what we're going to be providing and then coordinating on will be just a review of capacity conditions at Union Park Road and Main Street. We're going to be reviewing just bike and pedestrian mobility in and around the project area. I think there was one other item within that list here too, which was a general safety review at a couple of high traffic locations that were in the project vicinity out towards Main Street 201 area. Other than that, you'll see on the plans we've started to make some improvements to internal pedestrian movements. So some additional walkways between the office building towards residential, connecting some of the parking areas, making sure that there are good open spaces for residents to move from the parking area to the buildings. And then as well just around the site. I think snow storage was something that we might have discussed at just the last meeting too, but we've continued to improve upon that. Provided a little bit of discussion ultimately that really what you'll see on the plans is we're trying to provide more space or at least highlight that on the site plan. However, one of the things that we know with especially a downtown area with a site that will be utilized fairly well like this one. Ultimately with the snow removal process there too, those contractors do have the ability to haul snow off site. And so that is something that we're anticipating might ultimately be the case in situations where we have lots of snow and start to see storage on site depleting there. So other quick items more just on the utilities and permitting. We've continued to coordinate with the water district and the sewer district on just our designs. We've made a couple of adjustments to the sewer on site so that we're going to be gravitating the primary, the new building out towards the public system, but still pumping out to provide that continued service to the office building there. On the water main side, we had discussions and we'll be looking to provide a public water main and an easement to the water district so that we can provide service for both of those buildings. Just a kind of a minor detail, but something that wasn't previously provided on those plans. We've started to coordinate with Tom Sauce here, excuse me, for our stormwater management review. So we have some comments back from him. You'll likely see those just in our final package we'll be looking to provide to you later this month. And then the other item too, we touched on in our letter, but ultimately we will be submitting, and we're submitting here in the coming days, our NERPA permits, and I should have written on here as well, Army Corps permits, which is just a pre-construction notification for those impacts that we had identified to, the vernal pool that is out into the rear of the site there. So other than that, this zoning analysis table is more or less a sheet that we've provided. Not a lot of new information on here, but anything that we can go back to if we have any additional questions. We had increased our parking on site. I know that was another comment from staff at the board at the time of our last meeting. I believe we've at least added 6 or 7 surface parking spaces exterior to the building here too. So we're continually reviewing, trying to make some adjustments to these plans and really just try to expand our parking capacity here. And then again, this is another slide from the architectural set that came through. It provides a really nice massing study. It gives you a good visual as to how this building will look. A little bit of a blocky approach, but gives you that kind of visual on site here. So after that, I'm just going to turn over for the next couple slides to Braden to discuss the landscaping.
Good evening, members of the board. My name is Braden Dry Poultry. I'm the project landscape architect, and I am excited about this project for a lot of reasons. One of which is the commons and the public park offering. This slide is in general kind of, the colorized version of all the hard work that's gone into it up to this date. And some of the precedent images that kind of excited the team and got us to the next stage, which is the slide I'll show proceeding in the design itself. Just kind of an overview and kind of expressing what we think are the merits of the site for you guys. I'll use the cheat sheet and I'll kind of riff off it a little bit, but we think the design reshapes the site and integrates with the surrounding ecology, in creating a vibrant residential campus. In that, we use the existing and proposed topography as kind of a design driver, allowing the grading to kind of shape the space, work with landforms, and naturally, use those landforms to help with stormwater, wetland, and the woodland edges. The landscape is organized through a connected system of outdoor spaces instead of kind of a thing and a thing and a thing. And we use that to kind of create a home feel offering up to the public and the residents alike. We're using mostly native and adaptive plantings to strengthen the ecological function, which is just kind of a fancy word of, basically making the plants do the work in the right places, minimizing maintenance, and really reinforcing kind of a native fold into the site. The building is shaped in such a way that it allows us to kind of bring those natural moments into the space. Stormwater and drainage patterns are integrated in the landscape, and we kind of express those through a series of swales and landform mounds, and kind of integrate into the site to create spaces that are both, functioning for the site itself, for the stormwater, and for usage. In that, I think, the commons kind of plays into that natural topography that we're, recreating. The commons is kind of the public offering of an accessible pocket park. It's almost a half acre of public park that would be for the neighbors as well as the residents alike. In that area, you'll have native gardens, what we're calling an edible edge, blueberry sods, Cronus maritime. We'll have a dog park. We'll have open and flexible lawn space. We'll have natural play areas. And if you look at the picture down on the bottom right, we're thinking of kind of integrating natural materials reclaimed from the site to have, I think nature plays is a kind of a big imaginative way to integrate into a space that you don't have to have these large structures, long-term maintenance, and kind of flex throughout the years. We plan to kind of embed this area of connected paths with, nice native plantings like the picture above the image that I referenced earlier. And through that, I think the overall landscape strategy enhances the quality of life while reinforcing the natural character and, bringing a little bit more nature into this kind of commercial area, making it very livable for the residents. So that might have been a little bit longer winded, but I wanted to kind of update you of our thought process and how we're approaching it. This is the submitted plans, the planting plan for the site. It might get a little muddled at this detail, but if you were to get a chance to look through it in the handout packets and everything, north is facing up on this, so the orientation is north up. Union Park Road is to the bottom or the south, and this kind of expresses the common area to the east or the right on the page, and then kind of almost in a mirror image of the building as it comes down is the front entrance, which we've integrated, stormwater gathering area, the portico share and outdoor living space. And as you wrap around the building where the grades get a little bit tough, we've integrated kind of shade garden and kind of stone garden edges around the residential area, and also improving the area in front of the office space as well. So we're pleased with the design. We hope that you guys like it, but we wanted to offer up that explanation. And it obviously will answer any questions as needed. Thank you for your time.
So just to kind of run through the rest of these slides, some of these, like this one here in front of you with the NFPA study that was submitted, nothing new, and I think we talked about this at least the last planning board meeting. The architectural site plan showing just some of the elements that have been updated, but generally, the new main entrance area, a lot of the movement through the site, everything remains the same. A lot of the, more recent work has really just kind of been massaging some of these areas as Braden's really kind of started to bring those to life onto these plans here. Floor plans here, not much for adjustment within these, but anything that we can revisit if you have any questions. The elevations, this is something that's a bit newer, so we've actually started to add in some coloring onto these plans. And so there's been a lot more thought going into really just the exterior palette and everything for these. So another view for you. And these also show for comparison. Sorry, this was the plan east elevation. I thought I had read that wrong. This is just another rendering that we had put together. I think that at the last meeting, ultimately there was a feeling that it was really hard to kind of really put together a perspective, or we just really certainly didn't have one prepared. So hopefully with this and some of the other materials, there's a little bit more detail put into here, and even including landscaping on this plan that you know, this can be something that honestly I'd leave up just for discussions here, but gives you the idea of how this building really will look. I think one of the things that I was blanking here just on the last sheet, but one of the details was that specifically here for on the bottom elevation, this plan east elevation, we're actually showing you know, what would be the front facing portion from this view of the building, where I think previously we really just kind of showed what it might look like from, say, this elevation completely from the north. And now this is what you will see from that north elevation, but again, this would not be from, say, the public view ultimately. So a little bit more detail, certainly to each and every one of these. And so this plan south top of page here is actually what was the front portion of the building in the rendering in the next few slides here, being that one right there. So certainly there will be a layered view just to enhance this rendering and actually still show more of the building. You know, there are even elements of trees that we are planning to plant for some additional screening, but they're just kind of faded back a little bit just in the view. The last few sheets I'll just run through quickly. These are just the site grading and utility sheets, so nothing in particular I necessarily wanted to point out. As I mentioned, there are a few extra spaces for parking in here, so a little bit of massaging just in this general vicinity here, if you can see where my cursor is. Some expansion of pedestrian walkways through the site from some of our rear parking areas around the office building and then up towards the residential building as well. But that would be generally it. So we appreciate your time this evening, and I'll turn it over to the board at that point for any additional comments.
All right, thank you. Before we go to the public comment of the board, with any questions you may have, you want to say?
I'm curious about the plantings on the what I'm calling the most prominent facade that faces the street, the south facade. Does the rendering match the planting plan? That rendering shows a lot of like full suite of plantings and bushes and flowers and all kinds of stuff between the street and the building. I'm curious if that's actually what it's going to look like.
Braden Dry Culture, just want to say again. So this is kind of a few years down the line. We have kind of a meadow matrix on the bottom half, which does have a bunch of mixed native grasses, but also woody shrubs that kind of grow in, from butterfly weed to New Jersey tea. So those are all 3 to 4 to 5, you know, at maturity. From seed to growth. So it is a conceptual version of what it may look like in 5 years' time. Typically, no landscape is complete. Like about 3 years later, you come back and that's, you know, what it starts to look like. At maturity, there are some trees along that way that, as Caleb had mentioned, are faded out, so we can kind of blend the architectural in the landscape. There is obviously, there's a little bit of an esplanade closer to Union Park Road, where there's some trees planted in the sidewalk. And then we're still working on the grading a little bit on that back area. There are some larger shrubs over to the east, and it's more meadow to the west. So it's not a perfect match, but it's close to what we're trying to achieve, where we really have the screening and the softening of the building on that edge. But again, I think it's a fair representation. But you know, we haven't picked. I think with these pictures, it's important, and a good question, and I'm not trying to go long-winded, is that it's not species specific for every moment. It's more of a generalized view of what it could look like, using, plants relative to it, so. Sorry, that's a little longer than you
No,
needed, but
that's
that,
fine, thank you.
Any other questions? Oh, yeah, you can do that first motion.
I move that the planning board concur with staff that the preliminary application materials before Union Park Road planned commercial development have been submitted and that the application is complete such that the board may proceed with its substantive review and identification of any further action or information which required.
I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion, it's been seconded, any discussion?
Question for clarification. Because obviously there's a lot of material that has not been submitted.
Right.
That, I mean, we just heard the various things that have not been submitted. So when we say preliminary application materials, are we talking that something has been submitted?
Yes, so that's just for everything that's required for the preliminary plan submission has
Yeah.
been, has that been submitted? And
Okay.
basically the staff recommendations, yes, they submitted everything that they needed.
Okay, because later on in the memo, there's various findings that on materials that we don't have. That's
So future submissions, yes, it's because,
Okay.
for example, this technically any decisions that are made here are just in regards to section 191, the subdivision. But because it's the final plan will be coming, there are a lot of things, there are a lot of relevant information that's more relevant perhaps to section 175, which is something that will be discussed during the final plan. That makes sense.
Any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? All right, show 4 in favor and 1 opposed. Patty, do you see that?
No, can you tell me who is opposed?
Mr. Brandon's.
You got that? All right, any other questions or comments on this side? I just want to say, I like your list of the topics to address. I think it's important. It's probably, at least in my view, in order of priority. Not that we, the DEP and Army Corps are the lowest, but we don't worry about that as much. They'll take care of it. And just I think you guys already know this, but we really defer to town staff and to town peer reviewers for a lot of the input that they provide us. And there's clearly a lot of input that you guys responded to already, and I expect you'll respond to in the final versions. But the traffic issues, whether it be those intersections in and out of the driveway, etc. The pedestrians, I know I think on the list said internal. I think there's a pretty good focus on external too, by Chief Hagan. With the expectation that even though I think there's been a lot of discussions that people feel folks are going to just drive in and out of this property, there are a lot of amenities nearby that go get quick coffee or get a burger or head down to over to the high school. There's going to be a lot of foot traffic and bicycle traffic too, and those, with your traffic study, hopefully we'll get some real good clarification on those safety issues beyond the vehicular traffic. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out there. And I know the parking questions and the connectivity are items that will continue to be a topic of discussion with staff and us with some of them. That said, I'll open up to public comments for the public hearing. Does anyone would like to speak? Please go up to the mic, introduce yourself, and ask your questions to the board. Anyone online?
Yeah, if there's anybody in attendance online, if you put your hand up, I can allow you to speak.
can you take the picture off so I can see who's speaking? When they speak?
They do.
All I see is the building. I can't see who's, oh, thank you.
Patty's speaking.
Perfect.
Yeah, Susan Ray Reeves, 14 Twin Pond Road. My question really comes from not being familiar with how to read the plans, that we've been looking at. And it's such a basic question, I'm almost embarrassed to ask it, but there's parking above ground, but there is also underground parking, yes?
Yes.
That's pretty new and exciting, Topsham. I'm curious, with 183 units in the building, if you wouldn't mind just breaking down, like, how many are one bedroom, blah, 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 and what's the parking situation underground and above?
Sure.
When I looked at the plans and I thought, that's the underground parking, I thought, how fast? So, thanks.
Thanks, Susan, for that question, and it's not a bad question at all, because this is new and different, for Topsham, and it was for Brunswick when we built Sandpiper. So the parking runs the entire footprint of the foundation of the building. So, instead of a basement, we've got a parking garage essentially underneath, and the site slopes down towards the existing office building, and that parking garage will also slope down with it. We'll have, between like over 100 spots underground, and over 230 in total. It's one of my colleagues has the exact numbers, chime in or put those in the chat, but that will allow everyone to have at least one parking spot. Many will have two. And some people won't have a car, and we know this from Sandpiper. It's not many, it's probably 3 to 5%, of the residents we would expect, but we see that as well, where some folks are done driving, whether by choice or necessity, and they get picked up, and that's part of why we have that round entry with a covered roof over it. And it's going to be about 60-40 between studio and 1 bedroom to 2 bedroom apartments. So that's about the mix, and we have, you can get technical with like a parking ratio where we're a little over 1.25, which we've seen work in the past. So we're pretty confident that we'll be able to accommodate everyone, and we control that somewhat by the pricing, because if you want more spots than what your unit comes with, you pay extra for that. So that prevents people from having project cars in the driveway and lot and stuff like that.
Thank you.
Thanks. Any other questions?
Just more in general, but,
Can we-
oh, sorry,
Address
Brenda Fry, 41 Red Lane.
this? And I neglected to, should have said this last time. If you can address the board,
Okay.
then we can, that way, I don't think we're gonna have any conflict.
Okay.
But that way conflict goes through us.
Okay. So one question, how much taller over the treetops is the additional stories?
Right. And will you have follow-up? Do you have other questions you want?
Once, if it's completely approved, how long until like final approval? And then once it's approved, from start to finish, how long is building take? Like construction, from tearing up, and because from what I understand from this, the existing office building that's there is staying, so this is just in front of it, in front towards Union Road. Yeah,
Alright.
thank you.
Yeah, that's something.
I can take a stab at that one as well. Thank you, Brenda. Those are good questions. The first one, how much higher will the building be than the surrounding trees? And the top of the roof will be probably about even with some of the taller pine trees on both the borders of our lot and the neighboring lots, which are quite mature and high. The height limit in this zone is 60 feet and we'll be a little under that. And some of those trees they can grow to 80 or 100 feet tall. So we like the forested border concept and we're trying to maintain that as much as we can with this project. The approvals are in the hands of the planning board and the town staff. I think in the next 2 months is when we would hope, permits are finalized. There's the DEP process, which is kind of on its own timeline as well. We would hope to break ground this spring. That's what we're planning on right now, and it'll be a little under 2 years of a project, so about 18 to 20 months. There's still some variables in there that we were just talking, with one of the potential builders about today of, do you do, stud framing for some of the interior closets and bathrooms that aren't bearing walls, or do you use metal gauge, which goes in faster and can push up your timeline by a month or two. But it'll be over a year that the project will be underway and be open in about 2 years from the start.
Thank you. Any other questions? Nothing online?
See if I do actually have a hand up on the button. Right, I believe it was Laura. All right, Laura.
Yes, I'm also in Mary Meeting condos, and I was torn at the vote in November about what to do. I did vote against it in the end. I am concerned about the disruption to our area. I mean, we're not VIP auto sales, we're a family community, and I'm concerned about how it will impact my taxes, my utility bills, noise pollution, light pollution. That's kind of a rambling question, but I'm particularly, I'm glad the question was raised. 2 years is a long time to hear a lot of construction. I recognize the benefit of the place. I wish there was more affordable housing in it. But I also am concerned particularly about noise and light pollution. And I don't know if that will impact us or not. I just wanted to mostly voice concern.
And that's the noise and light pollution during the construction period?
And afterwards, like I noticed there was a pub on property, which is concerning.
Thank you.
Thanks, Laura, and I can hopefully answer some of those questions, and those are definitely valid concerns. And it's interesting because right after we built the Sandpiper over in Brunswick, which I'm not sure if you visited, but I definitely encourage you to go there, especially at night, and see how the lighting looks, from nearby, and maybe talk to some of the residents there. But we had a neighboring building, a 64 unit apartment building, go up right next to us just as we were filling ours. And I had the same concerns that you did. I was like, oh no, we're next to a construction site for the first year of our building being open. We're gonna get all these complaints. It's such a drag, and so forth. And it really was not ever a concern. I don't think we got a single complaint from a resident about the construction happening right across the way, which I'm not trying to say there's no noise or that these aren't valid concerns, but I was just pleasantly surprised, from that experience, that people can live nearby to work sites. Part of that is that we don't let them start too early. They're not coming to jackhammer at 5 in the morning. They start at 7 to 8 a.m. generally, and they like to be in their trucks getting out of there by 3, 4 at the latest. They're not working to 7 or 8 at night. So for those in the building construction trades, they like to start early and end early. And we will make sure that we're not creating noise in the neighborhood when people are trying to sleep, for sure. And in terms of light pollution, we do definitely address that in our plan. This is not a Walmart parking lot lighting plan at all. We want it soft. It's for safety, so people walking alone from their cars in the lot feel safe. And we don't want it pointing right at the road, right at pedestrians, or right in people's faces in their units. It's really just meant to be a soft, warm lighting for safety of people walking through the parking lots. So I hope that answers some of your questions, and we appreciate it. We want this to be a family community too. So we appreciate your feedback.
Any other answer? All right. We'll close the public hearing portion, the public comment portion of this public hearing. Back to the board, any additional questions, comments, discussion?
I want to bring up something, just a clarification of what Susan brought up, the question of parking being underground. And it looks to me like not all of it is underground, but when I'm looking at the south elevation that faces the road, looks like the first 10 feet or so is just a blank stone wall where the parking is behind that. If I'm reading this correctly. So then the parking at some point under the building goes underground, but a good portion of it is at ground, basically inside the building. So is that correct?
Yes, correct. And just so I'm understanding as well, I'll pull back up.
Yeah, because that's one of the reasons I brought up the question about landscaping, because you're obscuring a good portion of the front of the building, or at least the blank wall is being obscured by plantings, which is great. But I just want other people to be aware that there is a giant blank wall, the first story of the building on that side.
Yes, and are you looking at, so you said the south elevation?
Yeah.
So where my cursor actually generally is here, is that this portion?
Yeah.
So that's one of the things actually that we are continuing to look at. Braden had mentioned that as well, but we're actually going to just raise the grade there and actually kind of soften that as it approaches up to the building. So that'll be one of the things you see, and certainly in the next iteration of plans here. So that will be the grade elevation will certainly hide that, and then it will be planted similar to what you see here in all these renderings.
Okay.
Yep.
I'll also make a general comment that this is a big improvement over the last time I saw it. Architecturally, I think it looks good. I was always concerned about the mass of the building, and it's still a very massive building, but I can tell that you guys have really taken care to reduce the visual mass by breaking it down into some different roof forms, and the added on decks on the front, and some change of color and materials is very helpful to sort of break that building down. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, certainly, thank you. And I won't begin to speak to the architectural, but that team and the ownership team really they put a lot of thought obviously into the building, as much as the site. I'd like to say more than the site, but yeah, appreciate that. Thank you.
Oh, I forgot one thing from Laura's comments I just wanted to address as well. Is the pub in the building. It's not a pub. That's a like common kitchen seating area, much like we have in the Sandpiper. We won't be serving alcohol there, as a building. It's not open to the public. It's sort of a common kitchen area that you can reserve for birthday parties. Pub is sort of the mood of the decor that we're going for. So there will not be, parties and drinking like there would be in a place that serves alcohol, if that helps clarify that. And Andy, our architects are on the Zoom, and I'm sure they appreciate your seeing exactly what they've been working on. So thank you very much. We've tried to make this as attractive as we can.
So is that a tree that's sort of like right by the bikers, right there? And I obviously it's just lightened up so that we can see the building, right? Because I really like that. I like the occasional tree. I mean, the shrubs and everything are great, and the little bushes and all that, and the wild grass, but I think it's really nice to have some trees. I just like trees.
Yes, and I think we actually had several more, I think just for the purposes of the rendering too.
Okay.
I don't think we actually had them all shown.
The planting plan might show, there's quite a few.
Yeah.
The final plan, we might see some more.
It should be shown in here on a different slide of little circles, where the trees will go.
Just gonna go back to the plan. And again, I got excited. You show me some circles on plans, I'll click right to. There we go. So if you're, it is tough to see, but there's 2 trees in the Esplanade on Union Park, and then we have understory trees in that slope down. Kind of, they're kind of, you know, thrown, dispersed. But we are gonna look at that a little bit more. The intent is gonna stay the same, but the arrangement and how we do to, you know, work with the building that's coming along, I agree quite nicely. We want to make sure that we're highlighting the right areas and screening the right areas. So there's 5 understory trees as we're showing now on the bank in the back. So it's 12 to 15 foot wide.
The other comments, well, my comment is that reading the memo and got out my yellow highlighter for various things that I do have problems with making some of these findings where we do not have the actual studies. We don't have the report from the town peer review engineer. The off-street parking and loading provision. That's the way I read the ordinance, that once you go over a unit, let's say one space, that it has to be rounded up then to the next whole number, as opposed to, so you can't have 1.13 spaces. And if it's a alternate parking plan, which is almost this what it sounds like, that there should actually be a actual report to us regarding the parking plan and how it's being calculated to say that there is enough parking. I don't see, you know, and this is actually going beyond to the and we did get a little bit more of a landscaping plan, I will say that, but I would like to see the final report on that, as well as the town review engineer. As well as you know, the permissions or whatever's going to happen with the vernal pool on there. So I would look to say, okay, we've gotten this far, but before we actually vote on things and make findings that I would assume are binding in this, that I would prefer to see further reports.
Josh, I mean, my understanding was that we're not doing anything on 175 or 225 here. We're just on 191, which is a preliminary subdivision.
So 225, yes, 225 and 191, 175, no.
Right.
So, and then of course, no, the only decision that the board would be making tonight is just that enough has been shown for a preliminary plan. So basically, there's no approvals for any waivers. There would be no approvals for, like, basically an approval tonight is simply saying, yes, like we can move towards review of a final plan. So this is, the preliminary plan is still in process for a final plan. You would have the everything complete and ready to go at this point of the review process.
Okay.
As far as a process, I mean, this is the process whereby we provide additional feedback similar to the pre-site plan.
Correct, and this is the board's ability to kind of look at what has been submitted thus far. And like, for example, the applicants brought up like waivers that they were looking at doing, and so it's the chance for the board to look at those things and, you know, talk about what their biggest concerns are, so that the applicant has time to go back and revisit those things and present a final plan that matches the expectations of the planning.
Well, yeah, I still want to see the actual reports. I don't want to have anything where I'm reading this memo, and if we adopt things in this memo, it says the board finds that the requirements have been met. Now, to me, that sounds like we've made a finding, and as a quasi-judicial body, we are bound by that finding. So I do not feel comfortable making findings without having the reports. And like I said, for the parking, I think we need the parking alternate parking plan outlined in section 225 and 27.
Yeah, can I say something? I think in the suggested motion that we're going to give, it clearly says that those conditions are to be met before the next approval.
On number 2.
So number 2 would have been the applicant.
The number 2 of motion number 2.
Yeah, it says the applicant shall respond to any technical comments identified by the town's peer review engineer. I feel comfortable enough to know that they're going to have to do that before we give final approval. And resolve
number 3.
and respond to staff comments.
Yeah.
Again, they need to do that before we move forward. I don't think this is this isn't that final.
Being said, would it be all right to make a motion?
Yes, you can. Unless you have more discussion.
Well, you can have more discussion after the motion. Yep. Okay, I move that the application for for Union Park Road Plan Commercial Development Preliminary Subdivision Plan submitted by 4 Union Associates LLC regarding tax map U05 lot 47 be approved in accordance with 191-3 and 191-5 of the Topsham Code with the following conditions. 1, the applicant shall revise the submitted plan set to provide the necessary sheets for final plan approval. For 2, the applicant shall respond to any technical comments identified by the town's peer review engineer. For 3, number 3, the applicant shall respond to and resolve staff comments.
Second.
All right, any discussion on that? I would say that we want to say peer reviewers, not just our committee, because we want Tom Erica's, we want Tom Saucier's, we want any of the town reviewers.
I can make a friendly amendment to that. Number 2 to include so after peer review engineer,
We could even say, by the town's peer reviewers.
Reviewers.
And that would
sure,
work for all.
okay, let's do that, yeah.
I second that again.
Other discussion on the motion?
When you're saying in accordance with 191.3 and 191.5. Okay, 191.5 was obviously just saying the preliminary plan. And I agree, they've submitted some preliminary plan documents. Are we then getting rid of the other suggested findings of fact in the memorandum to us? So, because it goes on for various other sections of 191. And
So actually clarifying the suggested findings of fact, and maybe I'll do this for future memos, that these would be the suggested findings of fact as it stands for the final submission. Like, this is where we are currently. And I believe some of them even like additionally like shall be complete if the applicant submits XYZ.
I mean, I don't have a problem with the motion. I can't remember what 191.3 is, but as long as we are not making any findings that are binding under the other provisions of 191. because there's an awful lot of stuff that we are missing. That's I remember the planning board used to say, it's had it half baked.
Just, this is a good question, 190, 130, since you're approving it. 193 is the preliminary and final plans required section.
Oh, okay.
Yep. And that just outlines the requirement for the applicant to submit
preliminary plans.
Yep.
Okay. I move to amend the motion, if I may. That the board is not making any findings under any other provisions of section 191.
Well, that's as I made the motion, do we,
Specify
does the
the
rest of the
two.
board have any concerns about that amendment, if I were to make it?
I mean, I don't have any concerns about it. I do think that the motion itself specifies the two portions of 191.
Which that's true, by being specific of two subjectives or whatever.
Yeah, but I'm not a lawyer. So I don't want to get in that argument. But I would not have an issue with that, but I think the motion itself already excludes.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I don't think there's a need for amendment.
Right, okay, how does this sound? So as the fourth condition, the board is not making any findings outside of that specifically mentioned in this motion. And the only two which are specifically mentioned would be the 191-3 and 191-5.
Yep, you could. Sure, I'll make that friendly amendment.
Or we're good with that. Now, I assume once we do vote on this motion, we're kind of done with it. So we want to, we can speak to other topics under this.
Yes, that is the,
There we go.
that is the point that
Right.
In other words, the meeting's not done.
No, I don't the football game just started 5 minutes ago, so. Anyway, back to at least my original point with, with the input that you've gotten from the town staff and the town reviewer.
Do we want to vote
the
on
importance? What's that?
Do we want to vote on that motion?
No, I want to wait until we have our discussion, because I think after that motion will be done.
Right.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of great information in the packet that we've provided. Thank you. And the information you guys provided. The towns, we had a little vote back in November. There's, the TIP district that is helping, will help with the project, also provides funds to the town. The traffic issue, whether it be the cars, pedestrians, the bikes, there's so much you can do on your property. There's so much you can help do in the area near your property, and the town can do to help mitigate those issues. So just hopefully, it's not anything the board can do, but just throwing that out there, that I think there's room to meet somewhere on those topics. And I know you guys want to say project too for your residents. I know early on in this project, we had some really nice trails. I know CMP owns that property behind you, but nice trails that were going over to crosswalks to the schools. There's the connectivity issue to the whatever we want to call the Trader Joe's lot or whatever it is next to. That eventually is going to be there will be hopefully a road to that signal. And I know there's a push from maybe some staff and reviewers to have that as a potential option in the future. And I know you've stated in your package that pedestrian and bicycle connectivity through there is a preference. So not that we can do anything on that lot itself at this point, but that would be another spot that would have great connectivity for bikes and pedestrians to a place that could have a signal crosswalk, so. It's been a good process, a very creative process for the last, year plus. We've been discussing a lot of, real great improvements, so whether it be architectural design, the town moving in directions with, the recode type directions that have helped with this project, so hopefully continue down that line. Well, it's something that works for everyone. Off my podium.
Speaking about traffic, is there a DOT component to this where we're talking about traffic onto 196 and 201, both of which are state roads?
You guys want to speak to the DOT component?
Yeah. I meant to ask you that question before. So
No, there is none when we're not triggering the traffic movement permit with the state. But we are triggering the town's local thresholds for traffic reviews.
okay, so there's no, even with this many units and all that, there's no traffic.
Correct. We're still below that. I can't recall off the top of my head what our peak trip generation is, but we're below the 100 trip threshold.
Okay.
Yep.
It's typically trip generation for the residential properties is much lower
than commercial.
Seems like it would be.
Yeah.
Right. Anyone else? No. All right, so we'll take up the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Show unanimous, Patty?
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch this one.
It'll be great viewing.
Oh, yeah. Thanks.
We're also good looking, Patty.
Yeah, that's true.
You go to, all in favor? Motion to adjourn.
Oh, is that what it was?
Hey, goodbye.
Oh, can I amend that motion?
No, nothing more out of you.
Board members, I'm gonna need signatures. I have. Just right there on that.